What's up, guys? Greg Haw here, and today I have a special guest. This is Justin from Tales from the Podcast. Hey,
Hey
Justin.
man, how's it going?
Good, man. Thanks so much for joining me. I think it was a little over a year ago. I was on your podcast, right?
Yeah, we reviewed a episode of Tales from the Crypt and talked about comic books.
Yeah, and anyone that follows my channel here knows that I am a sucker for pre-code horror and especially Tales from the Crypt. And I see all that cool stuff in the background above you. Uh,
Yeah, I might be into it.
yeah, I that pale ale, man. Tell me a little bit how you got that.
Oh right, so I'll go ahead and I'll grab it real quick so I can actually show it off a little bit. But yeah, the Pale from the Crypt beer, which
Oh,
is pretty much only available in California. I had to do some illegal shipping, get a hold of somebody to buy it, and then get it shipped to them, and then get it shipped to me, pretending to be a car part.
that's awesome. That is really cool, man. I remember when that came out, I saw someone that was advertising it, and I tried to get a hold of it, and they said, "No, we can't do that." So that's
Oh
cool that
man,
you got a hold of it.
yeah, I
Uh,
tried to for the first run of it, and I couldn't get them for the first run. But by the time the second run came out, I had somebody lined up and ready to go.
that's cool, man. That's cool. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your podcast? We're going to dive into that. You also have an exclusive comic book coming up. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But first, what started your love for Tales from the Crypt?
Oh man, so my love of Tales from the Crypt started at like a very young age. Keep in mind, I'm only 33, which means I was born in '88 at the
Yeah.
time of this recording. So, Tales from the Crypt was, I obviously didn't watch it when I was a baby, but I was able to see some of the Saturday morning cartoons and on the reruns. And I don't know if you remember it or if this was a thing in your local area, but by the time I got a little bit older and they were doing reruns even on HBO at the time, my dad had one of these fancy little black boxes that would unscramble the HBO channel.
Oh, yeah, I do remember those. That makes you think of the movie Cable Guy. Remember?
Yeah.
Installs that box for I think it's Matthew Broderick. That's cool, man. That
Yeah, and
was actually leading into my next question. How did you watch Tales from the Crypt? Did you actually subscribe to HBO? But I think you answered it there.
yeah. Yeah, not necessarily subscribed to it, but unscrambled it at first. And I've got to the point now where I have this box set and I haven't actually have the other box set in my closet at the moment, the individual DVDs as well. And I even had some of the VHSs early on too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice. Um, what's the first episode you remember watching? Like the first one that kind of sticks out in your head?
Well, the first one that I remembered like really, really in detail is probably All Through the House. That one, especially around Christmas time, it would play a lot, even on the reruns on like I think it was Fox or was it Fox that put them out on the reruns?
I think so because they did the Saturday morning cartoon, didn't they? Wasn't it on Fox? I think they
I
kind of
think
had.
ABC did the Saturday morning cartoon.
Oh, was it
I
ABC?
I think so, but then it got canceled and then redone again for the new Crypt Tales from the Crypt Keeper thing, and they did it for another season like that too. But either way, around Christmas time, I always remember that and seeing that really really scary messed up Larry Drake in his Santa Claus outfit, which I loved.
Yeah. Well, awesome, man.
Yeah.
And so what made you finally decide to start Tales from the podcast?
Well, a few years ago, because I mean, I've been doing Tales from the podcast for what, probably almost 3 years now. I think two
Yeah,
and a
wow.
half, 3 years. And at first I started off doing found footage radio, which was a short-lived horror podcast that I did where we would discuss found footage films. And a good friend of mine and still a partner that I do a lot of stuff with, Mark Sheets from the podcast Paranormal Punchers. He got me into it and everything with him, and then he kind of like got a little busy, so he had to do his own thing. And you kind of run out of found footage film. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, I want to do a podcast with something that I really love, and I want it to be able to last a long time. And there's not many things that I love more than Tales from the Crypt. It was something that I was very, very into, and I mean, I would watch it all the time for no reason. Like, I mean, I think the first time I sat down and actually went through all 7 seasons, I probably was like 13 or 14 years old. And I
Wow.
mean, I'd go through and just watch them all. Like, I wouldn't go through and watch regular TV like most people my age. I would just sit there and watch these horror shows and like Tales from the Crypt. I don't know if you remember some of these other ones, but like Are You Afraid of the Dark,
Oh yeah.
Goosebumps, pretty much any kind of horror anthology TV show really captivated me and was just super interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you're either it seems like you're really, really into it or really not, right? That's the horror genre anyway, I should say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So who was your first guest on your podcast?
Oh man, that is taking it back really, really far. Do you mean like the first just guest in general,
Like
or do
the
you mean like the first like famous celebrity?
Yeah, maybe let's go with the first famous celebrity. Like, what was your first guest
Well,
that made you go, wow, I can't believe this guy's coming on for me?
well, the first one I actually got super lucky with, dude. And when I say that, I mean like a lot of people would probably be jealous of this get, especially as early on as I was able to get him. But my first ever celebrity interview that I was able to get on the show was John Kassir,
Oh, nice.
and I think that was I had to have been maybe 4 episodes in. Like I mean, it was really, really early in on me doing everything, but it was like like in between like 4 and 6 episodes in, I had him on.
Awesome. That's a great way to kickstart your series.
Oh yeah, definitely. And through the years, I've had many podcasters and other people from Tales from the Crypt. A personal favorite of mine was having Timothy Stack on. He is a very funny guy, and I grew up watching some of his other stuff like Son of the Beach, and you know
Yeah.
it, that
Oh
guy
yeah.
has some interesting stories.
I remember that. For everyone watching here, where can they find your podcast? I'm going to put the link below, guys. So if you want to find Tales from the Podcast, it'll be linked below. But where else can they find your podcast?
Well, I mean, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitch, I'm on Facebook. If you go to the website talesfromthepodcast.com, there's actually little pictures for like everything that you can subscribe to me on. So I mean like there's Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. I'm then if you like scroll towards the bottom, you will see small pictures for like the Facebook, the group, the Instagram, the Twitter, the YouTube and the Twitch. I mean, every link is right there and very easily accessible.
Awesome. Yeah, that's nice how how easy it is to pull a podcast these days compared to how it was when they first came out in the late '90s. A lot
Yeah,
harder.
it's come a long way, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're able to find them pretty much anywhere. That's great. So let's kind of roll over. One of the main reasons I wanted to have you on here because, as you know, I'm very into comic books, and
Yes.
you have a project you're working on.
Yes, sir, I definitely do. And that project should be launching here in about 6 days. It's going to be on Kickstarter at first. We have quite a few projects that we're doing trying to get it ready at the moment, but it is a very EC inspired horror anthology comic book. I'd say between, like the initial designing, some of the stories, the plot twists, and then the artwork, it's probably more of like a EC slash like grindhouse almost type thing, or even
Awesome.
like a gore shriek type art. I mean, the artwork's very gritty. It's done by Drew Moreland, who actually went to school over there where Tom Savini teaches all his practical effects. So I mean, she's an amazing artist. We're very lucky to have her on board with it, and one of the things that I can say that doesn't really get said too often is all of our artwork is actually done by hand too.
That's great. I love that, and that's another thing that's a throwback to the older style comic books. That's doing it all by hand and not CGI and through vector images and all that stuff is that's awesome.
Yeah. I don't think they were able to do that with some of these Tales from the Crypt books.
Oh no, didn't have all that back then.
No.
So you kind of answered half my question. Who's doing the writing on the book?
Well, with the writing, I did one of the stories, and some of my fellow podcasters who are, in the groups with me, because I do Tales from the Podcast, but Tales from the Podcast is only a every other week show. But I have another show called Two Guys, One Crypt, and it's on the same channel, so I really don't plug it too much, where we just do a horror film the intervaled weeks. And so my buddy Chuck did a story, which his story is titled Pig-Headed, and a good friend of mine, Ron Perty, who he's kind of taking a break from things and doing his own thing at the moment. But he did a story too called Weathered the Storm. And then my story is titled Mask.
Mask.
Yes, it's a pretty gruesome story.
Well, I look forward to seeing that. I didn't catch what's the title of the comic?
The comic book itself is called Tales of Shock and Terror, which took a little bit of time to come up with, but with the help of people like my buddy Greg here, I was able to get that going good. And I think it was something that was easy to settle on.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's definitely give it that old time feeling, that pre-code EC Comics feel to it.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a great title. Um, so is there anyone else working on the book with you that you wanted to kind of give a shout out to?
Well, I mean, between us four, we're the ones working on the book, but I mean, I definitely have to give a really big shout out to my buddy Josh Nealis from Cutthroat Comics. He's picking us up, and he's the publisher for the comic book, and he's helping us get it going. I will say it's pretty cool saying that I'm not technically self-publishing. I mean, I got a company behind me that is actually helping me get it going and getting me better rates on things. So I mean, it's really cool. And I know he has quite a few comic books coming out. He does some superhero type things. His last one was Turkey Sharks, and
Cool.
yeah, he has another one coming out, and it's pretty funny to say the least. I'm really excited to see what he has coming out with his next one.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great to have, a publishing company behind you. So that's definitely a big step. You mentioned the Kickstarter is coming soon. Do you have an actual launch date for it yet, or is that kind of up in the air?
Oh, we do. We are going to be launching it on February 16th.
February.
And yeah, so that is in a few more days, but it's going to be exciting. We don't have a lot that we need to raise, so the goal is fairly low, but we definitely have high hopes for it, especially with the horror community. And
Yeah.
there's some pretty cool deals that we're trying to do on there. And even Drew, the artist, is going to be doing some custom drawings on there that people are going to be allowed to purchase as well, which
No,
they're a little bit on the pricier side compared to the comic book, but I mean, it's a really really cool thing that she has doing it for us.
that's awesome. Can you share the levels yet, or is that still something that's kind of up in the air?
Oh yeah, I can definitely share the levels with you and everything, man. So I believe it's well, first off, we got four different covers that we are doing, and
Okay.
th- three of those covers are basically going to be for like basically just on the Kickstarter itself. We're not going to sit there and do a lot with those other covers afterwards.
Yeah.
So, like maybe special events or Comic Cons and things like that, you might see some of the other covers. But for the most part, this is going to be the only chance for people to actually get these other covers. But we have quite a few different tiers. For $4, we're going to be doing our digital copy. For $5 is our standard cover A. Um, then our covers B, C, and D, which are basically going to be exclusive to this for the majority of people, are going to be available for $10 a piece. And then we also have it where people can buy all four covers and save a little bit of money and get all four of them for $25.
Nice.
And we got a couple of retailer incentive deals. So for $40, you'll get two covers of every single book, and then for 75 you can get four covers of them all. And then the horror drawings that are going to be done are going to be $75, and there's only going to be five available. But she's going to be doing a Frankenstein, a Nosferatu drawing, a demonic nun drawing, a werewolf drawing, and a mummy drawing. So
Nice.
some pretty cool throwbacks to some pretty classic horror icons, to say the least.
Yeah, classic for sure with the mummies and
Yeah,
that's
well, we're all pretty big horror fans over here. That's for sure.
yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what got me started in this too. So that's awesome. I'm loving hearing all that. Was there anything else you wanted to share with me today? Do you have anything else in the pipeline for the podcast or
Well, we definitely have some other things going. Like obviously with this comic book, I mean, it costs a little bit of money to get all this together. As you know, I'm sure you know that, and we do have a store on Teespring, which I'm sure the link of that's going to probably be up here right there. And that right there is something that we're doing, which that store is going to be very limited and it's going to stop as soon as the Kickstarter is done. But if you want to get any kind of Tales of Shock and Terror gear, you can go there, check it out, buy something. Definitely any of the proceeds for that are going towards, helping us get Gemini boxes, tape, backing boards, bags. You know how it is.
all that stuff's at a premium right now too?
Yeah, I've from the start of this project till now, I've watched it go up a couple of times, and it's like, oh man, I
Yeah,
really gotta sell more shirts.
keeps especially the Gemini mailers. I order a lot of those myself, and they keep selling out. So then you have to wait 2 weeks, and definitely something to
Yeah,
think about for.
yeah. The first two times I looked them up, they weren't available.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, that's definitely an issue.
Oh yeah.
So why don't we take a quick second to look at some of your merchandising? I've seen these shirts, and they're really cool. I want to share them with our viewers here.
All right, yeah. We definitely got this a really cool. This is probably one of our more favorite products that we have. It's a wraparound comic book shirt. So the entire thing is actually covered in panels from the comic book, and there's a few of them on there, each one with the from the different stories. So each one actually has panels from that said story.
That's great. That's a great idea to actually use live art from your book instead of just random stuff that they drew just for the shirt. So that's cool to actually use art that's used in the book itself.
Yeah, we definitely try to do something different, and then we throw the Tales of Shock and Terror over top of it. So, people got to know what you're wearing.
Yeah, yeah, and you mentioned that this is a limited run, right? So if they want this, they better get it now because it's not going to be available once the book's out.
Correct. And don't get me wrong, there will probably be a Tales of Shock and Terror shirt, but these things are not going to be on there. It'll limit itself for these products, yes, but there will be like a basic logo shirt with just the Tales of Shock and Terror that will probably be available on the Tales from the Podcast merch site, which is available on the talesfromthepodcast.com.
Awesome. Yeah. So go grab one of those, right?
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
any what other shirts do you have, or is that like the main shirt that you're doing?
Well, we got that shirt. We got like hoodies and stuff too. But a lot of them just have like basic logos on them and everything. Actually, I feel really dumb now because I'm wearing one of my metal band T-shirts, but I should have been wearing my Tales of Shock and Terror hoodie.
Oh, you should. Perfect.
Because I do have one. I will say that I switched our store from we were originally doing a lot of stuff on T Public, which is
Mhm.
a pretty cheap site and everything, but we decided to go ahead and take it up to Teespring. And the things do cost a bit more, but man, the quality is just so much better. And I'm telling you that this hoodie, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's important. That's
Oh
definitely
yeah.
to have quality, not just price. A lot of people don't mind to pay extra couple bucks for the quality.
Right. Yeah.
I'm on your site now. I see that you have hoodies, you have um, crop tops for women, you have
We got all over print sweatpants. There's even a couple of blankets on there too. I mean, I went all out and used a lot of the original art, and it takes a while to design these things and edit them to correctly, but I feel I made some pretty cool products on there for people to check out.
Yeah, I see stainless tumbler, pint glass, and
Oh
then yeah,
yeah.
your sweatpants and mugs. Got everything. That's great.
Right. Yeah, dude. It's really cool, you know. I will say we've had, you know, a decent amount of purchases on there, so it's definitely helping. And, you know, I definitely want to give a big thank you to anybody who has purchased anything or anybody who's going to in the future. It's so appreciated, and we definitely love people supporting us on this journey.
Yeah, and it goes a long way to helping you guys get a second issue out too, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, the better this goes, the closer and easier it is to do another one, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So, can we take a sneak peek at some of those covers?
You know, I will say that, you know, because the Kickstarter is still launching in a few days, that we got a couple of pages that still need to be done. But what I can share with you is I can share you the three variant covers, covers B, C, and D, which are each one of them is going to be a cover from an individual story.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
Yeah, it's really cool. I guess the first one I could show you is if you wanted to take a look at the one that is for my story, Mask, which
Yeah.
is pretty gruesome.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about this? So when you send them or when you send her the information on what you want to do for this cover, what exactly do you tell her for this?
Well, for this cover, this was something that I really wanted because this is a scene from the comic book too. And what I said is that, you know, I definitely want something that's going to pop and, you know, almost have like a, I guess in a way, like kind of like a Frank Miller type vibe. I definitely wanted to go more black and white with it at first, but because of, you know, just some of the coloring and everything for it, we kind of thought it would be really cool to go almost reminiscent of the mask itself, which is made out of burlap. So we kind of went towards that burlap color for some of the background, and it is a person getting their head bashed in with a hammer. And I told her pretty much what I basically wanted, and I just wanted the blood and just you know a nice blood red. And it's like, you know, and I also told her, I was like, you know, you have liberty to do whatever you want with it, though. I definitely want you to make this the best thing you can. And, you know, I'm really big on giving an artist artistic freedom because that's when you get to really see some of the stuff shine. And one of the things that I think is like super cool about this image, and you can take a look at it, it's the eyeball. And the
Yeah.
eyeball that's popping out was something that she drew originally, which was something really cool. But the fact that she colored the eyeball and gave it its own little coloring there, I think really makes it pop out. And it's like those little things that really show that image, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and staying true to EC Comics would be proud. The Gaines family would be proud of this
Right.
with definitely pretty grotesque picture. I think the
Right.
the Sodi trials, this would have made the made
Right.
the
Yeah, I was joking the other day that I hopefully get this comic book gets burned. You know, I'm hoping it causes such an uproar people want to burn it. Which,
Yeah, that would make it more rare. The copies that exist, right?
well, I mean, look at EC nowadays. You know, look what they had to go through with the comic book trials, and I
Yeah,
mean, they're highly sought after. You know, I'm not sure. Like you do a lot more with comic books than I do. I only collect EC, but I mean, the market on it and everything is done nothing but go up.
yeah, and especially recently, it seems people are kind of finally getting smart to the idea that EC Comics were extremely important for the industry. They really did hold the industry up during the 50s when there was a big slump in comic sales, and everyone was
Right.
buying free code comics that they were more sold than DC Comics at the time. So
Yeah. So,
pretty
yeah, yeah.
comic.
Unfortunately, I have a really big grudge against Marvel and DC because realistically, they helped put that comic code in place because EC was outselling them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that had something to do with it too. Uh,
Yeah.
but I mean, like I say, the comic industry, I don't know if it would be around the same way it is now if it weren't for EC Comics. It really did, you know,
Revolutionized it.
it revolutionized it, but also gapped the market where there was a time there that it looked like comics were dying, and they saved them. So
Yeah, yeah. The funny thing is too, man, like it's never really talked too much about, but like they didn't just do horror comics either. I mean,
yeah,
I got the full run of Aces High. You know, like that is not a horror comic book in the least bit.
no, not at all. And yeah, they did war books. They did MD medical. I mean, I know
Yeah,
there's horror built into that too, but yeah, they had quite a line of
even
different.
sci-fi.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I guess I got one of the weird science ones too.
yeah, weird science,
Yeah.
and of course that was a television show too.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Television show.
There were a couple of shows that they didn't even really get to fully make either because they were going to do the Two-Fisted Tales, and
Yeah,
those episodes ended up becoming Tales from the Crypt episodes, which to me are personally weaker episodes, but
yeah,
there some of them are highly loved, like Yellow.
yeah. That's my next question for you. When are we going to see another Tales from the Crypt TV show?
Oh man. Well, I'm not sure exactly how much you've kept up to date with a lot of the stuff with the silver holdings and everything.
I heard that there's something happened recently that was kind of big news.
Yes, yes. The rights to the Crypt Keeper name in Tales from the Crypt reverted back to the Gaines family. Um, does that mean they can do a TV show? Yes. Does it mean that they can use this likeness? Probably not,
Oh,
because this is technically owned by like HBO. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's a great one, but for those who don't know and are just watching it, this is the Tales from the Crypt Keeper from the comic book.
yeah,
Much different, but hopefully they can come up with something soon. I know personally, even if I don't get an actual Tales from the Crypt show, I got I got a good friend of mine. He's been working on doing 4K restorations of all of the Tales from the Crypt episodes.
oh, cool.
He runs the CryptTube channel if you're ever interested in checking that out on YouTube. But my big thing is I would just love to have like a Blu-ray. I would love to see these updated and just more behind the scene features. I would personally be excited if I could just see a documentary of Kevin Yeager going through all of the workings, making the puppeting, the Crypt Keeper himself.
Yeah, some behind the scenes stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, we kind of got off track there. Let's see your
Yeah, we
next.
did.
Let's see your next cover.
All right. Here's the one for Weather the Storm, which is a story done by my buddy Ron Pertee. And it's a very simple cover. It's a snowy area with some trees and some bloody footprints going through the snow, which kind of makes you wonder what's going on there. What kind of creature would have made these bloody prints? And you'll have to check out the comic book and figure that out.
Yeah, it does a good job pulling you in and making you wonder what's going to happen next. So I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
Simple, but
It's simple, but I love it.
yeah, like you say, it's simple, but it's simple but captivating at the same time. So I like that.
Yeah, sometimes less is more.
Exactly, exactly. It lets you think and wonder more. So,
Exactly.
let's see the next one.
All right. And this is the cover for my buddy and co-host on my other show, 2G1C, or Two Guys One Crypt, which is definitely a play on a different thing, which I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. It's the cover for Pig Headed, which it's a very CBGB type bathroom stall in the middle of nowhere, overflowing with blood, with a lots of little hints and Easter eggs written all over the board in the bathroom stall there. So if anything, what I can say is get your magnifying lens out, really check out that bathroom stall, and to say the least, some of those things on there are real. So
Yeah, definitely. See what you can read in there, right? There's
right, yeah,
a few pretty funny little one-liners in there too. I noticed when I looked at it.
yeah, we definitely tried our best to make it as cool. And like I said, throw some Easter egg type things in there and little throwbacks to people who are fans of what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. That's one thing definitely that gets away from a lot of publication companies and writers, creators, that you're doing this for not only yourselves, but you're doing this for others too. So that's
Right.
definitely a good thing to keep in mind.
It definitely is, man. Definitely try to keep our audience captivated, and we have a fairly loyal fan base that they check us out on the podcast form, and we have quite a few people that regularly check it out live every single week. And none of this that we do would be as special without the people that are there every week to encourage us and keep it going, and just make it as fun as it is.
That's awesome, man. That's makes your all the work that you put into it makes it worth it, doesn't it?
Oh, dude, it's crazy the way it makes you feel sometimes, man. It really is. Even when you just do simple things, like a couple weeks ago, we reviewed a film. It was the Rabid remake. The original was done by Cronenberg, and the remake was done by the Saska twins. Well, the Saska twins ended up commenting on the post, so it's like, oh
Awesome.
man, little things, man. It's cool to just see your work spreading around.
That's a beautiful thing about the internet. You never know who you're reaching.
That's
Your
for sure.
voice travels. So
Yeah.
that's great. I love what you're doing, Justin, and I really appreciate you coming on with me here today.
Dude,
Um,
thank you so much for having me, man.
yeah, again, it's kind of cool coming full circle because, like I said, I was on Justin's podcast a little over a year ago, I think it was now, before I started this YouTube channel. So, really appreciate you. You inspired me and many others, I'm sure, to start their own projects and build their own channels and podcasts and everything else. So, I really appreciate your time.
Oh, dude, it's no problem. And just as a future notice for you, man, you're more than welcome to come back on anytime, man.
Oh,
We're
I'll pick you up on that. I got to come.
you better.
I got to come on and show off my collection now because since I was on your podcast, I've added quite a bit of Tales from the Crypt stuff.
Oh yeah, I bet you have. I'm excited to see some of it. I will say though, have you gotten your hands on the trading cards yet?
No, I haven't. I heard about
Oh,
the trading cards. I have to check into that because I have heard about it.
right. Oh, funny thing too is if you look in the back there, there's the only comic book that is not from Tales from the Crypt. It's haha issue number 1. I wonder where I got that.
Yeah,
But
one of my
I have the entire set of those with unopened packs of Tales from the Crypt cards.
oh, I got to get my hand on those then.
Yeah, there's quite a few. You can get the whole set at a fairly reasonable price if you can still find it. I know when I did, I was able to get them all, but it's definitely a really cool thing for any Tales from the Crypt fan to get.
Oh, I'm going to be on eBay after we're off of here, and I be looking for one because that FOMO gets me with stuff like that. Tales from the Crypt is the best, man. So I really appreciate you coming on here. I'm going to drop his links below for anyone that's interested. I'll drop the Kickstarter. I'll drop his shop, and especially subscribe to his podcast because it's awesome. He has some great guests on there. He has some great insight for the different episodes. He'll review an episode each week, and like you said, you do some specials here and there too, where you review movies and other stuff, right?
Oh yeah, every other week we usually do a horror film, and I mean it really varies. I mean, we've done episodes like Ernest Scared Stupid. We've done stuff like The Beyond. We even got a Scooby Doo movie that we're going to be doing soon.
Oh,
It just
cool.
depends. I mean, we go all over the place with that part of the show. But with the Tales from the Crypt show, man, I mean, you can come on there every other week just for the Tales from the Crypt. Listen, you'll learn something. And not only do I talk about the show, but I even go ahead and go through the comic book too with people and do a comparison between the show and the comic book. So people get an idea of what, I guess life was in the 50s compared to the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, yeah, that's great, man. I remember when I was on there, I think that's what we did. We kind of closely analyzed the differences between the two, and that's it's pretty
Yeah.
neat. They stayed true. They stayed pretty true to the storylines, but of
Yeah.
course they updated them for at the time the 80s and 90s. They'd have to update them again for the 2020s if they were to come up some more. But you
Yeah,
did
I
great.
don't really know how that would work out on some of them. Even in the 90s, they were pushing the limits.
Yeah, yeah, it would be very different with social media and everything else. They'd really have to update a lot of that stuff. So
No, that definitely not. And you're a fan of the comic books. I'm sure you've not just collected them, but I'm sure you've read a lot of them too. But
oh yeah, and that's why I collect low grade so I can look through them
right,
and
yeah,
through them because yeah, if I have something that's high grade, a lot of those books, like you said, are coming up in value so much, worth thousands of dollars. I don't really want to read it. But the good thing is for anyone that doesn't have the old school comics, the reprints. I can see you got some above you there. They're
yeah.
the reprints are an awesome way to read some of these original stories where they just print them the exact same and you can get them pretty cheap.
Right. Honestly, though, if people are really trying to get some of these even cheaper, I strongly suggest checking out the EC archives. I mean, you're gonna spend $20, but I mean, you're gonna get a big collection of them. Because
Yeah,
even getting reprints, you could spend $6 to $10 a piece on those, which for a used reprint comic book is still kind of high priced, realistically.
yeah, I've noticed that the price of the reprints are coming up.
Right, yeah, but I mean, the EC archives are a great way, and I believe you can even get those digitally. So, I mean, people can really get into a lot of these comic books, and I'm sure there's other ways online to just read them anyway. But
Yeah,
it's always great to support these people. Because, giving more money to the Gaines family is always something I'm down for. Just that's how we're gonna get another show. We're not gonna get another show if people keep ripping stuff off.
yeah, that's the truth. There's a lot of shirts and different things that aren't authorized by the Gaines family.
Yeah, yeah. Every single thing that I have is 100% like sold through EC.
Yeah,
Even the hat, which has the comic book characters.
I'm digging the hat.
Right. The only thing that is not is this mask, and that's because you can't get one like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty dope, man. It looks pretty realistic.
It's a very very cool one to say the least. That one set me back probably more than what a couple of real copies of the comic book would have cost. But I really love it. There's not many out there.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know that I've seen one, so that's pretty neat.
Yeah, definitely. It's a I get quite a few offers for it to say the least.
Really, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you would with the people that you're bringing on your pod are going to be like minds, right?
Yeah, dude, you definitely nailed that. That's for sure, man. But I do love all things EC, that's for sure. It's to me, it's personally one of the greatest comic book series and companies, I guess, that have ever been around. And I'm just happy that I can review it and talk to like-minded people and have as much fun with this property as I have been.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks again for coming on and spending what are we about 45 minutes now. So thank you so much for giving me your time, guys. Please check out this new Kickstarter coming up. Um, I'm sure that everything Justin does is awesome, so it's going to be great. I look forward
Thank
to
you.
getting my copy, and we'll have you on again. How about we have you on again once everything goes live, and you can let us know how everything went.
Oh, dude, yeah, definitely. And if I do say so, I strongly suggest getting all 4 copies.
Yes, get all four. May as well do the one of the dealer incentives for you can get 4 copies of each.
Right, yeah, and then just tell your friends about it and have them, like, if you get the dealer incentive ones, I mean, you got Christmas presents covered for the whole year,
Yeah,
you
birthday.
know? I love that idea. That's what I need to do to advertise it from now on out, just be like, "Hey, get your Christmas presents done for the year, get a couple dealer incentives, and just load up on my comic book."
It done. That's it.
Exactly, you don't need nothing else.
No need for Black Friday. You're done.
Right? It's a horror book for every child. You can just sit there and, I mean, put it in their stocking. I mean, the kids will love it.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Justin.
Thank you, man. I greatly appreciate your time.
All right, buddy.
All
We'll
right.
see you soon, man.
Sounds good, man. I'll talk to you later.